Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us on this live stream. We've got Eleanor and TJ here with me today, and we're going to be talking about how we got our diagnosis, what our journey was to get a diagnosis, and what we've been able to do since then. So TJ, I might start with you actually, because
thanks.
you could take all night with all of your diagnoses. So
and that's just the ones you know about.
Can we just focus on like one or two of them?
No, I'm going to tell you them all. Every single last one of them. No, I'm not. Right. Thyroid problems. Seen as that is a bone of contention. Mm-hmm. There's 300 symptoms, 300 plus symptoms of thyroid issues, and a lot of them mix in with other conditions. So if you get the right doctor, big if, capital letters, underlined, flashing light on top, then they will do that testing first. If they don't, hello, Josh, call me hen. Oh, I haven't seen that name before. How long has that name been there for?
Hi,
yeah, they'll do those testings first. But if you don't, then you get down the line of chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, stress, hormonal. Really? Get away. Honestly? Fat, 40, fertile and female. It's all downhill from now because you're a woman, but you're going through the menopause. Stop working so hard. Take a rest. So, my icon's white.
Your icon's white. Now I can see you.
Yeah, on YouTube, I had to bounce out and bounce back in again on Hen's stream because on StreamYard you can see me, but on YouTube it's a white icon. Thanks for letting us know.
You can see me there. Oh yeah.
On stream. That's all right. My circle's flashing away, so.
Yeah, we know you're talking.
We know we're talking.
Eleanor will be on camera soon.
Oh God!
Fine, just leave it as me.
Well, unfortunately, you invited me on, so you ain't going to get to see me.
No, well, I resigned myself to that, TJ.
So yeah, I'd lost 3 stone in 6 months.
Oh, wow!
Without trying. It literally fell off me, and I had ringing in my ears, not white noise, not on and off tinnitus like my brother-in-law has. It was constant ringing. So I went to get my ears tested. I wasn't tired. And I had shakes. I was shakes, and my hands and wrists were really sore. So I went to get my ears tested, and it was one of the audiologists that said, have you had your thyroid tested? I was like, oh, no. Why do I want to get my thyroid tested if I'm here getting my ears tested? It was the audiologist that said that it's one of the symptoms of an overactive thyroid is ringing in your ears. I was like, oh, she said, oh, no, it's low down on the list, but it is there. And I was like, okay. So her boss sent me to see the endocrine to get a full thyroid blood test done, and it came back and they called me in, and it was, you have overactive, you have very overactive, you have really overactive, and you have seriously overactive. And you are seriously overactive.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh, right, okay, what are we doing then? He said, I'm going to put you on carbamazole. Carbamazole is a tablet that stops your thyroid from working. So they then give you thyroxine on a lower dose than what you're using. That knocked me for 6. Because I'd been used to running on a higher thyroid level. So, of course, I don't know the figures because it was that long ago, but for example, say, the average woman needs 100 milligrams of thyroxine. I was on 400 that my body was producing. So suddenly they gave me 50. And it was like literally dragging my backside out of bed, literally dragging my feet. Literally, I couldn't stand up. The shaking had stopped. The ringing in my ears had stopped. And it's just like,
Hello.
hello, Laura. So it's from one extreme to the other. So now I don't have a thyroid because I had radioactive iodine. So they killed that off. And now I take levothyroxine. And I also take liothyronine, which is T3s, which is very rare in the UK because for some silly reason, they don't like spending it because it's very expensive. The human body converts T4 to T3. We need T3. So they give us T4 on the hopes because it's dead cheap. It's like 90p for a packet. Whereas T3 is £9 a tablet.
Blimey.
Well, and you have to have it every day. Is it one a day?
I have to take 1.5 a day. Because I don't convert. But it took them 8 to 10 years to figure that out. I have to be going back saying, I feel like crap, I feel like crap, I feel like rubbish, I feel like crap. Well, no, you're on the right dose. No, I'm not on the right dose. So that was my journey into that. If you're in Scotland, apparently the Scottish, somebody might be able to correct me on this if they're willing or if they know, but the Scottish medical people are more open to T3 than the English.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
I suppose it really just depends on who's the board of directors and makes those decisions.
As Hens just said, it's a postcode lottery.
Yeah.
It's also if you've got a big mouth and a big attitude and you're nearly 6 foot tall.
We were saying that today in our group, that you've got to be of that disposition where you can just go into the doctors and tell them what you want and what they need. Not everybody has actually got the guts to do that.
I think sometimes as well, sorry, I was just going to say, I think sometimes as well, you don't want to be someone that Google diagnoses yourself. I know that was the case with me. I didn't want them to think, oh, she's a hypochondriac, or she talked herself into this diagnosis. So I tried not to do a lot of research at first because I wanted to go in, with an open mind and things like that. And it's only very recently I've realized that was the complete wrong approach. Because you need to do your research, because especially, with the way the NHS is at the moment, they don't have the time to spend on you. I mean, often I've gone in there and not only, they don't know any of my medical history, they don't, they haven't even got my referral letter or recent test result. It's so frustrating. So I think you do have to go in there armed with information, kind of records and things like that. Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I've got it down here because I was just looking through it. I've now made a folder of every single letter in order.
Yeah.
I mean, most people probably do that, but this has been years, just letters slung in boxes and bags. And so for me, that's like really organized. That's unheard of. But I just thought, no, I'm really fed up with it now. Just having to keep going back to the doctors and saying, yeah, but I've had a letter and the consultant said this. Well, what letter? We haven't got a letter.
Yeah, there's no joined up thinking. Yeah. And that's the frustrating one. The GP is supposed to be coordinating everything, basically. And a lot of the time you can't get access to anything unless they refer you or, anything like their primary care, aren't they? And then you've got secondary and tertiary. And like to get anywhere, you have to go through your GP first. So if they're not informed or they're not interested, it is so frustrating.
That's one thing I found. Sorry, TJ, go on.
I went to my consultant I started Googling everything and anything. And he rolled his eyes at me. I said, I've been to my GP and my GP Googled it. So if it's okay for my GP to Google it, it's okay for me to Google it. You buy me that book that you look through when you flick through a book. He had a book on his desk and it was about 3 inches thick. You look through that book, which is the old-fashioned way of Googling. How dare you tell me I can't Google?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to get this information? We go to libraries. Well, libraries are on computers nowadays.
Yeah. And they don't, I don't expect a GP to be an expert in every single, condition and whatever. They see, thousands upon thousands of people.
It does what it says on the tin.
But, I'm fine with them. Yeah, exactly. And I'm fine with them, having to look stuff up and all that. It's just when some are amazing and some are awful and kind of refuse to acknowledge that, either they're not the world expert on every single condition, or they, that medical science itself is limited and they're discovering new things every day. I mean, there's test results I'm sure we've all had that have proven things that, 10, 20 years ago, that test didn't exist. And,
exactly.
It's improving all the time. They find out new things or, find the way they were thinking was completely wrong, and disprove theories all the time. And it's just so important to get, medical practitioners that have that open mind and are, aware and are willing to admit that there are limitations.
Yeah. Well, I've always had the opposite. Well, not the opposite. My GPs, I always think they're absolutely fantastic because I go there, I tell them I've got this problem, and they kind of look at me and go, all right, I'll refer you. So I don't think a GP has ever once diagnosed me with anything. They've always I'll refer you. Just refer you to this one. Just refer you to that one. So I've had loads of referrals to consultants and God knows how many tests. And I only got the thing is, I'm a bit like you, Eleanor. I never wanted, and I still don't want to go to the doctor and say, I think this is what it is, because I'm sure they're just going to turn around and eye roll and say, oh yeah, well, you've looked that one up.
Yeah.
But some of my things I haven't. Well, I didn't in the first place. I didn't. And I just went with all these symptoms, and I was dead lucky with my neurologist, because I'd seen so many people before in various other departments, and my neurologist is the only one who hated computers. She didn't want anything to do with the computer system, and she's the only person that looked at my paper records. And in doing so, you see, back in 1990, I had meningococcal meningitis and septicemia.
Oh, God.
And I was very ill. I mean, you can't ask me much about it. I was in and out of consciousness. I remember being at home and my sister was talking to me, and in my head, I'm answering her. But all she said was, it was so scary because you were just looking right through me. And I was thinking, well, I was actually technically answering you, but you just, you know. But, so I ended up in hospital. But I was there 8 days, which was really, really good, considering the doctor, the consultant, said that he wouldn't let my family leave. They really did not expect me to survive the night. But this is where I think positive thinking, sorry, I keep digressing. Positive thinking really helps, because I didn't know, I knew I had meningitis. I didn't know I had septicemia, but apparently that was a real worry because I was really quite covered in that. But the doctor said to me, I'm going away this weekend, and when I get back, I want to see you sitting up. So in my sort of delirious state, that's all I was thinking was, right, I have to be sitting up when he gets back. And I was. But had he not said that,
you wouldn't have had it to work towards.
I wouldn't have had it to work towards.
Yeah.
They also didn't tell me that my friend had died. So they kept that secret until just before I left the hospital, because there were two of us that got it.
God, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Eleanor, it's like 30 years ago.
I know. Wow.
Yeah, it is part of life.
Things were done back then.
Sorry?
That's the way things were done back then.
Yeah.
They didn't
The thing
tell
is,
people.
if you think about it, he collapsed, had a fit, and actually swallowed his tongue. So had he survived, he would have been, you know, in vegetative state. And I know for a fact that he would have absolutely
hated
that's
it.
worse for him. So that's the way I've kept positive about it, and it's fine. But anyway, the neurologist, back to the beginning of the story, the neurologist only looked at the paper records, and I'd been going back for 10 years, back and forward to the GP saying, something's not right. I can't see right. Everything's just not right. I don't feel right. My hands are tingling, this, that, and various things. And I kept saying, I'm sure it's the meningitis. I don't see right. I don't hear right. Everything's wrong. No. Looking at the computer. No, it couldn't possibly be that. One type of meningitis. I kept thinking, I don't understand that. But the neurologist found they'd actually written it on the computer wrong.
Oh, no.
So for 10 years, almost 15 years, I'd been battling with the GP, going back and forward, saying, this isn't right. Because back then, 30 years ago, they didn't do brain scans like they do now. So there was no way for me to know that I was completely cured of this, that there had been no complications. And I know for a fact, I changed personalities completely. I was somebody that used to have to be the center of attention. I just wanted to be out all the time. And I was just, I wasn't not a nice person, but it was all about me. I didn't care about anyone else. I just wanted to be out having a good time. And, you know, if I trampled on people at the end of the day, then, oh, well.
Yeah.
And overnight, I changed to somebody that I didn't want to go out. I could just, I don't know, I suppose I learned empathy. And hi, Joe, nice to see you. Plus, you know, all the other things that were going on as well. So, yeah, it wasn't. Plus, I think I died when I was there. I honestly, You know, they talk about getting that white light experience.
Mm.
And I totally got that, but it was the most amazing, calming thing ever. It was like I was just drifting off into nothing, no pain, no worries, no nothing. And,
Wow.
you know, it was the greatest feeling at all. And then I woke back up and it wasn't great. So I don't know. It's just weird. But no one will ever prove that. But it was good of her. And she did every test that she could, the neurologist. She was fantastic because she was absolutely convinced that because of the severity of the meningitis, there's no way I could have escaped that without anything, which is what I'd been saying. But every test she did, she was quite convinced that I had a form of epilepsy because I have bits where I just sort of zone out. I call it zoning out. I notice it. If you know me well enough, you'll notice it because my eyes just sort of glaze over, but I'm pretty good at it's momentarily. And but no, all tests came back for that negative. Every single test I've ever done has come back negative. So she couldn't do much. And that's when I started researching and I discovered fibromyalgia. So of course I had the pain, the fatigue and everything. And I thought, yeah, this sounds like it. I told her, and I think she was just exhausted with everything. She'd literally done everything she could. And I said, I think it's this. And she said, I think it might be. I'll send you to a rheumatologist. And she wrote to the rheumatologist saying that she thinks, or I think it might be fibromyalgia. And no word of a lie, the rheumatologist, she tested my legs and arms and whatever. And they said, so you think it's fibromyalgia then? And I said, well, I don't know. You know, that's what I've heard. And to me, it sounds like it when you put everything together. And she said, no, it sounds like it. And that was it. So that was my fibromyalgia. But I'm not convinced now that that's all it is, because to me, well, when I talk to other people with fibromyalgia, it's very much, it's the pain. Now, I've had pain all my life because I just have as a kid and everything. Obviously, it's got progressively worse and I do get pain, but the pain is the real least of my issues. The fatigue, the brain fog, the visual disturbances, the disconnecting, my balance. I mean, this is why I'm in a wheelchair. This is why I have to walk with a stick, and it's getting worse even in the house now. Yeah. It's not right. And I'm just not 100% convinced. But every time I go to them and say anything, that'd be the fibromyalgia. That'd be the
my God. They blame everything on fibromyalgia. I think it's because there isn't really much treatment. So it's quite useful to just say, well, you know, there's not really anything we can do with it. Hi, Chris.
Hi, all.
We've got Chris with us today now as well. Amy is on her way, but she's got held up with something, so she will be.
Chris.
So sorry, that was my very long and winded story about my diagnosis anyway.
As I previously said on your last stream, 30 odd years ago, my doctor said, oh, you've got fibromyalgia. I went, what's that then? He said, well, we don't really know what's wrong with you. So fibromyalgia is like pretty much it's like a catch-all type of thing. Yeah. We don't know what's wrong with you, so we call it fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fair enough.
At least they were honest about that.
He was a lovely GP. He would do everything he possibly could. He was a GP who, at the time I went to and I said, I need time off work. He said, oh, right. So, I'm pretty sure you've got tonsillitis. Okay. We'll put that down. Because they're not going to want to look down your throat. So, you've got tonsillitis. Because my job is answering the telephone. Mm. So if my GP would do that, Lovely bloke. But you know what? It was like there's nothing we can do for you because it's really just a catch-all type thing. We don't know what's
They've
wrong with you.
exhausted everything. We don't know what to do now, so it must be.
Exactly.
But that was before my thyroid issues
Mm.
and before my chronic fatigue stroke ME and before that one and before that one
Yeah.
and before the arthritis.
But what's the difference, TJ, with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue? Because this is the question I really want to know for my own knowledge. I know,
I don't think
sorry,
there is
but you
one.
see, this is where I'm undecided because I suffer most with the fatigue. It's just crazy.
I think because
My-
they used to have about fibromyalgia and the pain points, the specific places, and part of the testing criteria was that you had to have a certain amount of pain in a certain amount of places. But then they seem to have done away with that.
Yeah,
Because
they
I didn't
used
have
to.
these tender point things, and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, like I think
the-
I actually had the reverse of what you two have had.
I think wasn't the tender points the webbing between your finger and your thumb?
No, there's like
You've
spots
got
all over
arms
the
and-
body.
Which I do have. I do have that. So
Yeah, so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I mean, there's so much overlap between so many of
Exactly.
these things. Yeah.
I could literally reel off 300 overactive put my teeth back in symptoms of an overactive thyroid, and I could probably do the same with an underactive thyroid.
Mm.
And a lot of those conditions, a lot of those symptoms of two totally different ends of the spectrum of one particular problem, and they're the same.
Hmm.
So your hair falls out.
my hair all fell out.
That is overactive and
Yeah.
underactive.
My hair fell out, but I was lucky enough. I've always had long hair, but it fell out underneath here, so nobody saw it. But I had a big bald patch. All the back of my hair went, and now I've been left with I've forgotten what it's called. You know where your skin goes white with the pigmentation,
Alopecia.
alopecia, all back of my neck. I'll try and turn around, but I don't think I'll be able to see it. No, probably not. Never mind. But yeah, all around the back of my neck and a couple of other patches. And I went to my GP, this is ages before fibromyalgia, and she literally looked at me and went, well, your hair doesn't fall out and you don't get those skin discolouring with cancer. That's the cancer treatment that does that. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Is it like vitiligo?
Didn't even mention. Yes, that's. I didn't even mention that. I was never thinking about it. Oh, why can't I hear me twice?
Because somebody's got the YouTube on.
Is that me?
If you've got YouTube on, and
You have to mute it. YouTube.
I don't think it is, but
let me talk again.
Can you hear?
Stop. No. Oh no. Oh no.
I don't know. I don't like hearing myself though.
It's like we're in a strange, like 80s film. Films have those weird repeating things, don't they?
don't worry.
Sorry.
What was it?
Right, so there's no echo with me. Oh no,
It's
there
only
is.
me.
Right,
No, we've all got it, I think. Oh, it stopped. Was it stopped?
stop now.
I don't know.
Yes, stop.
I
Yes,
think we're all right.
Echo.
Echo. Okay. Right, where were we?
Yeah. Joe Young has said, a rheumatologist told
Yes.
me that chronic fatigue and fibrom are the same condition. but different synonyms.
Cinnamons.
Synonyms. Is that supposed to be synonyms, or is it supposed to be symptoms?
No, synonyms, I think. Like they mean the same thing, pretty much, isn't it?
Okay. I'm not very good with my words. I've reached a point of birth today. Basically, the nervous system. People have more fatigue with chronic fatigue, and the fibro people have more pain.
No, I definitely think they diagnosed me wrong then.
I have pain because my thyroid doesn't work. This is me, right? If you were to say to me, what is wrong with you? Right? You're my doctor, and I'm going to come into you and I'm going to say what's wrong with me and what I think it is, right? I think my pain is due to the fact that I have arthritis everywhere, and I'm overweight. I think my pain is also due to my thyroid levels. That's my pain. I am tired because I can't cope with the pain. Because if you have a toothache and you know it's a toothache, you get tired because you're fighting the toothache. So if you're fighting a whole body ache and you're working through that whole body ache, you're going to get tired.
Yeah, it's exhaustion.
It is. Now, you see, I think with me, and again, it probably sounds strange, it's not, I am in pain. Okay, we have this constant nagging full body ache. My neck, my shoulders, my back, it feels like my head is just too heavy for my body. That doesn't go away, and I'll get various other pains. But when I try and walk, it's like I have to concentrate to tell my body to walk or to move or to do that. We do it naturally, and I do it naturally, but it just seems like I have to make that much more effort. And that's not because it's painful. It is a bit stiff and the balance is off completely, but it's just to make my leg walk. I have to think about it, and it just, that's what exhausts me.
Yeah, well, you know, you can sit and read a book and do nothing and be tired after the end of reading that book.
Yeah. But after
I
this
work on the
stream,
computer
I
all day long.
guarantee you I will sleep all day tomorrow, because just doing a stream and talking to people absolutely wipes me out. But I'm going to sleep, definitely try and stay in bed all day tomorrow, because tomorrow night, Hen, Just Call Me Hen, is having a live stream, and she's going to be doing karaoke on it. And I'm not.
And there'll be loads of room on the panel. I'm not going.
TJ, you're too good at singing. We get.
I'm just waiting for the comment.
You get struck off when TJ sings because they think she's actually singing the real thing. That doesn't happen when I sing.
Everyone leaves when I sing. You can clear a room. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's the thinking that the brain. The brain's overworking, so that tires you out. I can be on a computer. Literally, I have in work. I have a specialized desk and I have a specialized chair, so I could literally fall asleep in my chair at my desk because it is so comfortable. But I'm working on spreadsheets. I'm working on Word documents. I'm working on charts. I'm working on, whatever it is I'm working on, it's on a computer. And I'm going to throw this out there. Believe me, if you don't, that's fine. I think chronic fatigue, ME, and fibromyalgia has increased 100-fold since people have been on computers and on phones. Because we are not resting properly.
No.
Like
we have
always
street
on
lights.
kind of thing.
The computers are always on.
I'm not sure what you mean. What do your... I don't know what you mean. Sorry.
What do your INSEE?
Maybe it's Insta. What is your Insta? Could it be that?
It could be. Where? No, she's on my Instagram.
Oh, yeah, it's probably not that then.
No, I'm not sure.
What you're saying, something very interesting. I've been looking up about some stuff because there's things
Careful now, you'll get told off for looking things up.
got to Google. This is quite funny actually because I found it through looking for someone else, a family member, but it was all about things like ADHD. And actually there's links between ADHD and chronic fatigue ME. And what's really interesting, because you'd think, well, that's incompatible. One's where you're tired all the time, one's where you're hyperactive, but actually it's you're not. It's I've read a couple of things. One was just a comment someone made, and it's ADHD isn't a deficit of attention, it's a it's a surplus of attention. You're so busy thinking about everything around you, you pick up on absolutely everything that you are overwhelmed, and that exhausts you, because you're trying to concentrate on absolutely everything. You can't filter anything out.
A nice funny story. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but my daughter has ADHD and I have fibrofog. And so they put her on medication because they said it would help her in school concentrate and be able to do the work. Okay. So clever me, thinks I've really got to focus. I think I was doing my psychology degree with the Open University, and for some reason I think it was linked with that. So I had to concentrate on what I was doing. So I thought, idiot, I'd take one of her tablets because it would help me concentrate.
Oh no.
And wow. Well, I took them to McDonald's and they were quite young then. So we went in McDonald's and everything is just coming at me. And there's people and there's noise. And I'm like this, and I'm so angry and agitated, which is the reverse of me.
Yeah.
And there's these kids running around McDonald's, and I was going to kill them. I mean, my kids. I was absolutely in a...
Because you were hopped up on amphetamines.
Oh my God. If I've never taken a drug in my life, but if that's what taking drugs does to you, I never taken drugs in my life. It's the worst experience ever. And I'm just never going to do that again. But I told my doctor, because I'm all honest, and they said, yeah, well, it's because people like you, I'm very internal. All my thoughts are internal. And people with ADHD, it's all external, everything, so to have the inner and the outer at the same time. Anyway, I've learnt my lesson. Don't take other people's tablets. Sorry, carry on with what you said about ADHD. It's just you reminded me of that little...
No, that's hilarious. I can't actually remember. That's another thing with it. It's got no, don't, because even I was struggling to remember halfway through my own sentence, which is something that happens with me a lot. Brain goo, I call it. My brain is currently a big old pile of goo. But I just think there's so many, links. And I saw, where was it? Someone said about there's links with trauma. And that's absolutely right as well. I think there's so many things, and it's, the mental exhaustion can lead to physical exhaustion. And, I know there's links between inflammation and, all these things like stress on the body. And I think they, like I said before, the medical science is constantly evolving, contradicts itself. They find out new things, and I think that's the most important thing, is just having an open mind and having physicians that keep an open mind about it. I'm glad you're back, Jo.
So, Chris, did you want to say anything about how you got your diagnosis or what your diagnosis is or anything? You can
We
turn your
can't
mic
hear you,
on.
Chris.
I don't think I have been diagnosed.
No?
No. I've just given up with the whole system, really. I'm just naive. I'm just one of those silly people who thought doctors were meant to help me. I've just received, I don't know, second, third class help. I've reached out for help like every good person should do, but never received any. So, you know, it's made me very, very jaded, very, very depressed. I think our expectations need to be managed at the moment as well. I just couldn't believe how I got treated so poorly by my general practitioner. I would have loved to be. I mean, I'll give people here my sad story, how I saw it. My GP refused me any referrals for diagnosis. And I don't know if people are aware, in the UK you do need a referral letter to see anyone, including a private GP or a private thing. So I couldn't get any referral letters at all issued from my GP. So after 9 months of receiving no treatment, I was forced to move GPs. And as soon as I moved to a new GP, a different surgery, they were quite astonished that I hadn't received any diagnostic tests at all. And then the whole thing started, the diagnosis, and then basically we had this nasty thing, the pandemic kicked in. So I was literally waiting for a year to see anyone. Well, not quite a year for the first one. I had some blood tests done. If I hear any other people say your bloods are okay, therefore you must be okay, I'll be quite annoyed next time I hear that from them. But basically I received none. I just didn't believe how much control a general practitioner in the UK has over someone receiving a reasonable amount of health care.
They act like gatekeepers, don't they?
Yeah.
They do.
Well-
But it was, I was begging for a referral letter. Yeah, I was begging for a referral letter. I'd had letters written to the GP from other healthcare professionals to refer me. Yeah, basically saying I need to see a rheumatologist, neurologist. Yeah, and basically I got back the attitude, it's all in your head.
Yep.
And then subsequently, upon an MRI scan of my head, it would appear that it is in my head. Right?
So they weren't completely wrong.
No, they weren't completely wrong. No. And the whole support system around people, over the last 2 years, it's just disappeared. Yeah. I was always under this impression, if you got told something bad about you, that you go in to see a GP and you sit down and they tell you something, you're going to die or whatever, and you think, oh God, and go away. And I got an email, right? I've got a bloody email to tell me, yeah. And I'm thinking, like, do I deserve that, really?
Yeah.
Do I? And I was, that was from a private doctor, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I admit he did see me during the pandemic, where my own GP would not see me. So I literally waited from November 2019 September to receive any real. So for 2 years I've been left alone. Yeah. I know people who've been diagnosed, it's not good, yeah, but also not being diagnosed
Is the worst.
also,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I had to go for
every test comes back clear and they go, that's really
Yeah.
good news. And you're like,
I had to go for what they call it, thyroid scan, yeah, and I didn't sleep for 3 days. I was waking up in night sweats. Yeah, I'd never suffered from night sweats in my whole life. And I just woke up and I'm drenched.
See, if you were a woman, they'd have said it was menopause.
Yeah, probably. And it wasn't even summer, I wouldn't have minded. But, they just left me alone. And I tell you the other thing. I mean, I'm glad we all speak via Air Bromley Well and stuff. I didn't receive any support at all. Absolutely no support.
No.
Right. I'm not 75. I wasn't on their list. Right. I didn't receive any shopping from anyone. I couldn't get shopping. I couldn't physically walk to get shopping. But I was on my own. No one gave me a single bit of help. Okay. I went to a new GP surgery, and that GP surgery said, we've got a social prescriber. I was like, what's that then? And then they pointed me in the direction of Bromley Well. But the other one did nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm just so, I just think people have this false understanding of the health service, certainly in the UK. I think a lot of the ministers or whatever have this, everywhere's been freshly painted when they go to a GP surgery. Like the Queen turns up, and everything's been freshly painted and everyone's sitting quietly. My old surgery has not been opened, okay, and they say it's due to the fact they've got insufficient social distancing, okay. And what I would say to them is, well, don't take your money from the NHS if you're not providing a service.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay, because, I look at these people. I thought they were meant to be caring. I mean, I used to work for the NHS. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, are they doing telephone consultations?
Knowing this surgery, they're doing as little as possible. The old one. I used to work for the NHS, so I'm a big advocate of public health and stuff. But I can't sit by and see other people being treated so badly. And in case of my particular surgery that I'm particularly on about, it's not as if they've stopped, because I've read the comments on YouTube and stuff, their reviews. It's continuing till today. Yeah. And some of the words that are being used are absolutely disgusting. Evil and malicious was the words that were being used, but they don't get reprimanded in any way. The government stands by, pays all of their bills, and lets them decide if they're open or not. Yeah. And of course, I'm being funny. My mum had to go to King's College Hospital for those people who are from abroad, in the UK, in London. I'm in a premier teaching hospital, yeah. There was a 12-hour wait at casualty. My mum's 79 years of age, and she was out in the corridor sitting. Everyone's going there because the GPs are not open. People sitting there and thinking like, yeah, okay. And I thought, I've had enough, because when I hear another journalist, another thing sitting there singing the praises of our health service, I get so upset, because they are not what they appear to be. They really aren't. The diagnostic path, what you're talking about, your journeys we've all had. What have we done wrong? That's what I don't understand. What have we done wrong to deserve to be treated how we have? I know, I understand, medicine, there is no one, you've got that, yeah? Unless you've got a broken leg, of course, and they can see the crack.
Not always.
Not
I
A&E.
was on a broken ankle for a week because they told me it wasn't broken, and I didn't have an X-ray. So we've had that. That's not always straightforward either.
Well,
No, broken ankle,
been,
no, definitely not broken. And then a week later, I get a letter saying, "Oh yeah, can you come back and have it packed up?"
I mean, and if my tongue was green, I understand. I poke my tongue out, it's green. You're either an alien or you've been having too much of those kiddie drinks. But they have no. I just couldn't believe the attitude, you know. And people go on about this. Oh, we're only allowed to give you 10 minutes of time, yeah, or whatever. When you visit a GP, I'm having a good rant here about GPs. I hope everyone in the world sees it, right? If I'm not mistaken, people can correct me. That's defined by their own effective union or governing body, yeah, either the BMC or the BMA, right? So they decide themselves how long we get. We just give them money. Yeah.
But I think that's the problem, is that often they don't have the funding to have enough staff to give more than
Oh,
that.
I think they do.
Because I mean, the thing is, I get what you're saying, and I've had an appalling, you know, like appalling treatment at the hands of my old GP. Now with a new one. I think we actually have the same GP now.
Yeah,
I think we discussed that on something the other day, and I don't know, because I think, like you know, I love the NHS. I used to work for the NHS, but I think some people who work within the NHS are awful people, but I think a lot of others are so hardworking, but they are limited by funding, by what they're allowed to do, because they have to follow certain procedures. I think sometimes it's a thing of, you know, the management structure and the diagnostic.
There's too many people at the top.
They have to follow a really rigid and set pathway.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree.
Which can be exceptionally, you know, frustrating for them as well. But I mean, I do get what you're saying. Sometimes I think the really good, compassionate people get so burnt out by, you know, the limitations placed on them, and, you know, always having to fight fires, not being able to really delve and help people, that, you know, they end up leaving the NHS. Some go private, some, you know, go into a completely different profession, because they are so frustrated. And then sometimes you are then just left with the cold people who don't really care, you know. And I do think that happens. But who's it? Just call me Hen. Yeah, I agree. The NHS can be awesome or diabolical, and I really agree with that. But I mean, I'd always prefer to have this kind of thing than the situation in like America, where, you know, if you're rich, you're probably all right, but some people will just die. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like, I don't know.
I mean, I go back to the funding. I'll go back to my horrible GP experiences. The only way I looked up their funding and what they earn is because of the sex discrimination laws. So they have to publish now, don't they? Organisations, how much people earn, yeah? So my previous surgery, where I got the appalling treatment from, the GP average salary was £138,000, okay? And that's divided between 4 partners at £138,000. The one I'm at the moment, I believe the average salary is £78,000, okay? And they've got 10 doctors, yeah? 10, I think about 10 GPs. So what I'm making the assumption is somebody's paying themselves more and having less services for their customers, assuming they're getting the same level of financing from the government. So they're all getting funded at exactly the same level. We're not, you know, we're in Aberdeen, or well, maybe not Aberdeen, it's the wrong example, but maybe Newcastle or London. So what it says to me is that someone is giving less back to get more money for themselves. And I said, that was an average salary. So we all know there'll be what's that? Yeah. But I think what's happening is the average salary of these GPs, you know, for example, £78,000. That's not too bad. Our Prime Minister earns, what is it, 60 something? So 78 is not too bad. 138, that's a lot of money. A lot. A lot of money.
Just reading this out, sorry. That happens a lot, but in developing countries like Pakistan are issuing public health insurance up to 1 million in local currency, where you can go to any hospital and get health services.
Yeah.
And this kind of model is very good. Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'll have to look
basically
up
the customer's got the voucher, yeah, to use. Essentially, yeah. I mean, I sort of agree with that model.
Yeah, but is that everyone gets given the same amount to kind of use up or something, or just that the local area gets given an amount? I don't know. I'm like, I'd need to kind of understand that more, I think.
Yeah.
Much higher funding.
Yeah, but when you look at say for example, the GP contracts, what people have, I mean, take the time, if you can find out, to see what it actually means and what funding. I mean, I looked at the basic GP contract, and from what I can understand, that is to provide the basic service from Monday till Friday till, I think, 6 p.m, yeah, from 8 o'clock till 6. Now, I may be corrected on being factually, fact checked or whatever. And anything else they do, they get paid more for. Yeah. So I don't think anywhere else gets more money. They get funding according to the number of people on their books. And if you've got 20,000 people on your books, you get a lot more money than 10,000. And if they can't provide the services to 20,000, there's no one keeping them in check. No one.
Well, that's the thing, actually, because with our GP, there was like a consultation because they were under contract almost, with services, and then they did discuss it with patients. Like, we were all invited to, go and discuss how we felt they were providing services and if they were doing a good job. And something interesting that I learned at that, because I wanted to go and just say how brilliant I thought this GP was. It was my new GP. And they were awarded the contract again, which I was really happy with. But what I found out was that my old GP, who apparently are actually quite notorious and have now shut down, they were under an old system where there's basically no oversight. It was like an old type of contract. I can't remember the exact name or terminology, that they were basically operating where they were never reviewed. It was just they owned it, and that's what happened. You know what I mean? It does seem to be, like someone said before, like postcode lottery with regards to services. But even within the same postcode, you might end up at a GP that's they have that thing where they're reviewed and the patients can put in their points of view, whether it's listened to or not. Or you could end up with one like at my old one where there just seems to be no accountability. They own it, they have those services, and it happens.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to say today. When you try to look at the financial backgrounds of these companies, they're hidden inside trust companies. Yeah. The last company I tried to look at for them, it went back over 100 years, the trust, yeah, and the trust funds have actually been bought by new GPs over a period of time. And I said, I was astonished to find out we pay GPs mortgages on their premises, yeah. I mean, it's quite right that we use them as public services, and if someone was to put a building in an expensive part of London, it might cost a few £1 million to buy a house. But we still pay for them. Yeah, we pay for those services, but we don't control what's done in those places. And I've heard so many people just stand up and say, our wonderful nurses, our wonderful GP doctors, and there's a lot of nurses that I will say on the front line that I am in praise of. I really am, and doctors, obviously. But there's a lot who've been shirking. That's my feeling. Yeah, run away from it. My mum's wasn't contacted by any council. She's 80, and her local council rang her up after the first wave of the pandemic, are you okay? Yeah. I mean, I just didn't
And I'm
understand it.
betting you, she said, I'm fine. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did.
And
And
that's
I'm
the
just,
English problem.
yeah. I mean, she's just
You
sitting
walk
there
into
on
your
her own.
doctor's surgery and he goes, and how are you today? And you go,
Yeah.
oh, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm
No,
right. Write it down.
no, I feel like shit.
Yeah.
Go in and tell them what's wrong. Go in and tell them how you feel. Don't smile and go, oh, I'm okay today, thanks. No, why are you in a doctor's
Can't
surgery if
help
you're okay?
that.
Stop
I
it.
Oh,
can't
well,
help
that's,
but do that.
I know, it's an automatic response, isn't it?
Just
Sometimes I do the opposite and burst into tears. I'm either, yeah, I'm fine, or just,
yeah.
like
Go
I
with
mean,
the
there's no
tears.
in
Go
between.
with the tears. Go with the tears.
I
the
cannot
ones
do
I,
tears. I can't even fake them. They just I don't I can't even remember the last time I cried. I just
Oh
cannot
God,
do
have some of
tears.
mine. I could never stop.
There are
you know,
times when
like,
I want to, and you're just like, oh, I watch the saddest thing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm absolutely emotionless. I am.
Maybe that's
sociopath.
what's wrong with you.
Yeah,
Maybe you're
Maybe
a robot, a
full of
malfunctioning
tears.
robot.
No, you're
I'm a.
full of
I am a
tears.
bot. I'm got
You just
hashtag
need some
one.
WD-40 and you'll be
Oh,
fine.
no.
I've cured you.
You're just so full of tears. You just need a bloody good cry, and all your troubles will be gone.
Someone tell me
Yeah.
how to do that. It'd be great.
I'll give you the smack in the gob if you want. That'll make you cry.
It'll probably hit you back though. That's the thing, rather than cry.
You know,
That's
if,
fine, as long as you make it. Get a couple of tears comes out, it'll be fine. It releases
I mean,
tension.
This
I go
thing
back
about
onto this.
the public health credit card, can
Yeah.
I just say, like, reading it, but the thing about that is that doesn't, like, if you've used up your allowance for the year and your family have used up the allowance because you've got some genetic thing, you know what I mean? Like, what, do you then not get treatment?
You don't have to pay for
No,
it.
I don't know.
Well, that doesn't seem fair, because some families win the genetic lottery. I mean, is that just to, you know, encourage people not to have children if they're ill?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I had an ex-colleague whose 3 boys have got haemophilia.
Oh God.
So that, I think, makes him totally unique in the world for all 3 children to have haemophilia. And I believe the medication is something like 300,000 a year
Wow.
for those 3 children, or growing up young adults now. So you can't put a financial limit on it. You know, our system is that we all put in and we'll take a little bit out when we need it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the idea, isn't it? You know, we'll insure each other. But I do think you've got to, you know, limit services in some way. I know it's going to sound awful, but I think, you know, for example, prescriptions, Australia charges, I think, $10, yeah, for a prescription. What do we charge? £9.15
Per item.
per item, yeah?
In
So-
Australia, it depends on your prescription. I lived there
Yeah.
for 6 months, and
Yeah.
it depends on your actual prescription. I think you'd get the prescription, like the actual script, free, and then it depends on the item whether it be high or low. It's not a set amount like it is here. And also they have much more, like, they'll always say generic, like, would you prefer the generic, which is the low cost, or the you know, the labeled one? But yeah, it's not just like a flat $10, or it wasn't when I was there about 5-6 years ago.
But I think they've always tried to put a monetary value, haven't they, to a thing, yeah? To give it a, you know, it's going to cost you if you're going to buy some pills you don't use, yeah? It's going to cost you $10 or whatever. You know, that seems okay to me. And the people that can't afford it don't pay a penny. It's as simple as that. If you can afford to pay it, why not? You know, I'm happy with people who can afford to pay. And those who can't.
But that's
get it
similar
for
to
free.
what we have, isn't it, with prescriptions?
Well, I think what it is these days is let's be honest, right? We have the most bureaucratic system ever, right? So we pay loads of people to sit round at desks to find out who can and can't have medicine. Yeah. So we look at it as being free, but what it's actually doing is taking away all of that bureaucracy from the people who should be getting their medications and stuff for free.
Right. I get my medications for free.
Yeah.
I've got a thyroid problem. I've got no thyroid, so I get all my prescriptions for free.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's what conditions you get it for, because it seemed to be, if it's life threatening, then you get all of them, because my mum has a underactive thyroid, so she got hers for free after that. But my brother and I both have asthma, and so we need steroid inhalers and reliever inhalers and all that, and that is life threatening, but we don't get ours for free. It seems to be
poor, so I get mine for free.
You're what? Sorry?
I'm poor.
I'm poor. Yeah, well, I now do. Now I'm poor. I used to buy that prepayment thing. Where you pay a certain amount a year. Sorry.
Right. There's people who have transplants. Now, without a heart, you can't live.
Yeah.
Right? They have to pay for
their
medication.
The Tories seem to manage it quite well. Sorry.
True. True. But,
no, it's just one of those things,
Transplant patients have to pay for the medication that stops their body rejecting
the anti-rejection.
That is absolutely disgusting.
And that is more life-threatening than might have.
Yeah. It's bizarre the way it's kind of, the way they do it. And
but then that law was made before they were doing transplants. Yeah. It just needs updating.
Yeah.
I buy a lot of my medication over the counter because I get paracetamol in bulk off the doctors. And it costs me £9.50. I can buy, if I was allowed to buy more than one packet, I could buy the same amount for less.
You can buy 3 packets.
Oh, no.
Have you had them refuse you in the supermarket? Because I have.
Yes.
So it's 2 packets now, isn't it? 2 packets now you can buy at a time.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, you can't
Not
have
in
more
Wales,
than
it's
100.
not.
But if you go to the pharmacy, my dad, I don't know if they still do it. My dad, if you go to, he used to go to the pharmacy in our local Sainsbury's, and behind the counter, you can buy a pack of, I think he used to get 96 paracetamol for like £4 or something.
Oh,
so he just had to ask for them, but because it was in one box rather than two packs, that was perfectly fine. And I guess because the pharmacist was overseeing it.
They came running down to the machine when I was scanning them through in Sainsbury's. Said, no, you can't buy that many.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, I'm on about 6 a day, 6 paracetamol a day. And they don't last me long. Box
no,
of 16.
It is an issue, but it's to prevent or to try and prevent overdose. It was something that all supermarkets, retailers, like Boots, Superdrug, they all agreed on that. Well, it's why you'll get age checked as well, is because you have to be over the age of 12 to buy your ibuprofen to try and prevent children accidentally overdosing. Apparently.
I'm waiting to be age checked for alcohol.
I've been age checked for alcohol.
I was the other day. I was so pleased. I was like, yes.
Oh no!
You're so young compared to us.
No, I had my son. I had my grown-up son with me, and he joked and said, "Are you going to check her for ID?" So he did, and I got refused it because I didn't have any ID on me. And I'm like, "He's my son, for God's sake!"
Add it up.
I haven't been checked for ID since I was 14.
Oh wow.
I was actually, when I lived in Canada, I had never been ID checked in my entire life. So now I'm pregnant with my son, so I'm 29, and I go into this off license in Canada, and they refused to serve me because I had no ID. And I was like, but one, I'm like married, pregnant, and clearly over the age of, well, I suppose it's 21 in Canada.
Yes.
But then because they'd refused me, they then refused my husband.
Oh God,
Yeah,
because he was going to buy it for you.
Even though he had, and I was like, oh God. But so, I mean, it's fine, it's good. I don't dislike it, but I always ask them when I buy alcohol, do you want to see my ID? I'd be absolutely stuffed if they said yes, because I don't have ID. I don't drive, so I don't have a driver's license. I don't have ID. I don't have a passport because I
must be honest. A few years ago, I tried to go out for a drink in Bexley Heath. I don't know why, but I did.
Yeah, why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know. But I got refused entrance at every place because I didn't have any ID. I was very indignant about it. But it's one of these things. I'm sort of, maybe we should have a bit more ID on us. Maybe.
Well, I was like, I was working on a nightclub, and we went to a different nightclub for our night out. Yay! And they were asking ID for the barmaids, for the younger looking glass lads. Yeah. For those who are not in the UK, the glass lads are the lads who collect the dirty glasses and take them to the barmaids to wash. The doorman, the security staff, the younger looking ones. And I stood there barefaced and went, ask me for my ID. And they were like, we don't need to. Just make me feel good and ask me for my ID.
Yeah.
Please, just ask me.
Ask me, yeah.
And they were like, nope. Just ask me for my ID. Nope. At the time, I was 18. Wow. And it was at over 21's club.
Weird.
And they wouldn't ask me for my ID. They just let me in.
I'm not sure if it's still in operation, but there was an alcohol thing in central Beckenham. So you couldn't have any alcohol out, yeah? So I got off the train one night and I decided to go into the local shop there to buy some alcohol on my way home. And this policeman come up to me and he said, have you got alcohol? I said, yes, officer, I've got alcohol. He said, well, you're not allowed any. So I said, well, I'm going home with it. He said, but you're not allowed any in central Beckenham. I was going, well, I'm going home with it. I've had a hard day at work and I'm going to go home.
And it was in a closed container.
It
wasn't like you were swigging on the street.
Yes. No, against the shop that's right next to the station. Yeah. So I've got into this little bit of a confrontation with him because he clearly didn't understand that when he stopped me, I was actually walking home. I wasn't, standing in front of the street cracking the cans open, which I felt like doing, to be honest with you. And he's going, well, no, you can't have cans here. And I'm thinking, but I can, officer. I am allowed. Yeah. And you just wonder about, I given live and let live, as it were, but maybe we should have just a little badge, I'm human, and that means I can do things. Just the little things.
We are not bots.
Well,
I think like three of us will understand that.
I thought we discovered you're a robot and that's your diagnosis now. So try and wriggle out of it. I'm buying you the oil.
My pipe's going again.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned WD-40.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never drunk that before.
Right.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
In the one of the medical journals, they have trialed it on animals, which I'm not happy with, but I'm quite willing to try it. They are trying very fine needles of a silicone type substance for joint pain.
Okay.
But it doesn't regenerate, it fills the holes. So it's almost like regeneration.
Is that where the cartilage should be? And it's
yes,
one down, yeah.
Yes, they're trialing that, and I'm like, I took it to the GP, and I said, it wasn't to the GP, it was the physiotherapist. Have you read this? And she said, no, what is it? I said, sign me up. So she was like, I've not seen that. I said, well, when you read it and you think, oh, it's a good idea, sign me up. She said, but you don't know anything about it. I said, I've been saying, all I need is you to drill a hole in there. Spray WD-40, because it comes in a little straw. Spray WD-40 down the hole and I will be fine. Because it's not poisonous. Because if it was poisonous, it would say so on the can. And it doesn't. So let's
You
just
read
try
that. But have you tried it though?
What, WD-40 in her joints?
She knows it's not toxic.
Whilst maintaining my motorcycle.
Okay.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah, we've all inhaled the WD-40 at some point, haven't we?
Yeah.
Normal? Yeah. I use it for
I
cleaning
haven't.
things. I use it for cleaning sticky stuff off things. It's really good for that. Did you know that?
Really?
I don't think I've seen it and I know it gets used, but I don't think I've ever used it for anything.
Is this where we mentioned that this live stream is sponsored by WD-40?
WD-40 is a
very,
very
good
good substance. Like I said, it was a customer at work that said to us, we're trying to peel off the labels at work with the sticky stuff remover and it takes forever. He goes, try WD-40. So we did. We use it every time now. Brilliant stuff.
Oh, yeah. You just need something oil-based. Anything with oil in helps remove that. Yeah. It's weird.
It's less smellier than the sticky remover as well.
Yeah.
Did anybody remember the old Bottom, the comedy series?
Yeah.
The Christmas sketch? Anybody remember that one?
I wasn't a big Bottom fan.
Well,
Right, but you are now.
They invented vodka margarine.
Ooh.
Yeah, to save a bit of money. The vodka margarine, chili Brussels, which I thought was quite good. And for their Christmas Day tipple was Old Spice. Now, I've never drunk Old Spice, but I think they might have been giving people ideas with that one.
Well, it's full of alcohol, isn't it?
Yeah. I believe one of the England rugby players got caught a couple of years before that sketch in France. They'd all been on the Old Spice. I believe it was England captain Frank Cotton. They were doing several bottles of aftershave for an after-match drink.
Oh, me. That sounds disgusting.
No, you don't
You have to afford better, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I went for the very first LFT test. And I went with my youngest, who at the time was 26. 25. Yeah, no, 25 and a bit. Anyway, he hadn't been, but he'd come home on leave. So we trolleyed up to where we were going to go and get this test done. And I put it in the back of my throat and shoved it up my nose. Well, before then, the bloke had said, I'm saying bloke, the young child. Must have been about 10. You can't go in the same cubicle together. Why not? We came in the same car. A family member and my youngest said, are you going to clean her puke up? And I looked at my youngest and went, it's not that bad. I haven't done in work. He went, oh, okay. Back to the question, are you going to clean her puke up? No. Goes like, well, we'll go in the same cubicle then. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. I digress. Blah, 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 blah. And we finish all that. We go off. And I'm outside and I'm going, there's something on that stick. Ugh, it tastes horrible. It tastes like methylated spirits. So my youngest looks at me and goes, if you can't afford a decent drink, Mum, I'll buy you a bottle.
I remember I was walking through London Bridge one time, walking through the train station. And you get people come up to you, can I have £1 for a cup of tea or sort of thing? And I'm normally pretty good. But this guy came up to me, he said, could I have £1 to buy some extra strong lager? And I was like, well, you've asked so nicely. You didn't lie about what you're spending it for. Have some money. And he was like, oh, no, and everyone else turned me away. I said, well, he was honest. You didn't say you were going to spend it on tea when you weren't. Here you go. But I do tell you a truth, right? I told my mum once that we like Tennent's Extra. Did anybody remember Tennent's Extra?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one Christmas, my mum went out and bought us some Tennent's so we could all enjoy our Christmas drink together. Except it was not the extra.
The super.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we had a whole 24 cans of this stuff.
Jeez.
It was, we had to go and get some emergency bottles of lemonade to weaken it down.
You shandied it up. Pathetic.
So is this where somebody watches us?
Drinker.
So is this where somebody watching us diagnoses us with alcoholism?
Alcoholism.
Yeah.
At least we're getting diagnosis.
I mean, I try to be like observant, when I'm going around my daily life. And I was in Lidl's one day, and I'm in the queue, like you do in Lidl's. And this guy's got these massive bottles of cider, and I thought to myself, that's a bit heavy. About 2:00 in the afternoon, and it was 68p. Then I've looked at the alcohol content. I've got no wonder, Oh, blimey! No wonder people drink. I don't anymore.
I don't drink on a Thursday.
No, I can't. I haven't drunk since I've been pills.
I don't drink every day of the week.
No. Well, I've been drinking a lot more since I started my YouTube channel.
I'll be drinking tomorrow night.
I haven't had a drink now for 2 years. 9th of December 2019. 9th of November 2019. I dream of my next pint of Guinness, I do. I think of all the good things in the world, and I see this cold pint of Guinness sitting in front of me, just waiting to be drunk. But still can't drink it, so,
Why can't you drink it?
Just all the meds. Don't go well with any meds, does it?
Yeah, I've found that the more meds I've had to take, I don't drink anywhere near as much as I used to, and I can go ages without having it because I often find, they just don't mix well, or I don't know how they're going to affect it, and it's just a nightmare. So I drink hardly anything compared to the olden days.
I just don't.
Why would you?
I don't have to drink because one, I look like I'm drunk when I walk because I'm walk like that. I slur my words sometimes. My brain's gone, so I actually feel permanently drunk from when I get up in the morning to when I go to bed. So I don't technically have to drink, but it's always nice.
I look at some of the drinks when I'm around, and I think we're all relatively old on here, or maybe Amy and Ellen are not. My apologies. Have you ever tried to tell a youngster about Party 7? Does everyone know what a Party 7 is?
I'm obviously too young for this conversation.
Right.
Look it up. A Party 7.
Right now.
Yeah,
I'll Google it.
You've got seven pints of alcohol or beer in one
film.
can.
Ooh.
Party 7. No.
Well, it's not a film.
No, it's not a film.
Whitney's
It is a
Party
film.
7.
That's it. You've got it.
What is it? What is Party 7? Are you going to share the screen, or shall I share the screen?
Well, it's just a retro sticker decal they're showing me.
Sorry. It's basically 7 pints in one can.
Yeah.
So it's really strong.
No, but the problem is there's no opening on it. Yeah, there isn't a pool can or anything like that. Yeah.
Don't get a can opener.
Oh yeah. So I'll go to the details, but it's great fun when you're trying to go to a party and look all hip and trendy when you're 18. You've got 7 cans of beer that you've been walking around with, shaking around in someone else's house.
Sounds like a weapon.
and then you pierce the top with something very sharp.
That's
And
what I'm doing.
you got it. And normally it hits the ceiling. So you basically lose about 4 pints all over the person's house. But those were the days before cans of beer. Because when I grew up, first 17, we didn't have cans. You couldn't get a can.
Really?
Yeah, bottles only. Yeah. So it was only probably early
I
80s
remember
when
cans.
cans came in.
Yeah, I suppose we were about 14 when I used to hang around down the park, and that was my first sightings of cans of beer, really, because my parents, it's not that, well, they don't drink at all, so there wasn't really ever any alcohol in my house. My dad would have a shandy every now and again, but no,
I mean,
about
it's
14 down at the park, they were cans.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, you know, sort of reminiscing, but the youngsters don't understand that A, we didn't have that, right? And B, you didn't have any choice. So for around here, for example, where I live, it was all Young's pubs. So you only really had a choice of a pint at best, a light ale. There was no lagers, you know. So you'd go in, get these awful things from your pubs, but you didn't have any choice. That was it. You know, you had something that was awful. So they have a lot more choice.
Well, all lager is awful. My friends used to drink Foster's.
Yeah. But to not have a choice.
Delish.
And to walk around with 7... I tell you needed a big poacher's pocket in your coat, right, to fit the old can in. When you're 18.
Rolled it along like a keg.
Yeah, well, I sort of, you know, was walking around New Cross and Brockley at the time, so you didn't really want anyone to see you with this beer.
But you had it.
Yeah, because if they saw you,
my haunts. Those were my my places. I went Brockley and New Cross.
So everyone knew you've got a can on you, you know, big. So they meant you were going to a party, yeah.
Mm.
So round there, it was always every party was open. So, you know, you'd be in with like 10 people following you down the road to go to the same party just because you've got your can, a big can under you. Shouldn't be like that. Just my
hands in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, she's in the back. Do you know what it is? On my screen, I can't see it. I've got to... Thank you.
Oh,
Doing to me.
Sorry. Do you know what it is? I can see like 4 people, but I've got to lift my screen to see everyone else.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Shout at me.
I did. I tried to. My laptop's even worse today than it is normally.
How's your mouse?
It hasn't arrived.
I beg your pardon.
It hasn't arrived.
I think she means it's not going all over the screen.
No, she ordered one for me. It ain't arrived.
Ah.
I was thinking of an actual... Right, that makes sense. Because you were talking about actual mice earlier on today, weren't you, Caroline? So I was like, what? You like ordered one in the post, poor little mouse.
I can't get a mouse because shops won't let me get mice. They don't sell them anymore because people feed them to their horrible,
they're snakes,
slimy things.
It's illegal to actually feed them live to snakes in this country, but people still do it.
I wouldn't do that. I wanted a pair of mice, not to test on, Chris.
Have you even got my address?
True. I did want to put them in like mazes with food to, you know, psychological testing I wanted to do on them. Sorry, Hen.
Actually, no, you have. I remember I gave it to you. Sorry, I'm having a phone.
Oh, no.
It was supposed to have been delivered today, but it is now, for some unknown reason, it's been delivered tomorrow.
Okay. It's all right.
That Amazon.
Yeah.
I purposely chose that one because it was getting delivered today.
All right. Don't worry. It's fine.
Because I'm not putting up with you tomorrow.
It's getting worse. I tell you, it's getting worse.
That's why I'm not putting up with you tomorrow. Anyway, we're back onto this stream. This is Caroline's stream.
Okay.
I want to come in because I actually came on earlier on when you were talking about prescriptions and charging for prescriptions. Now, I don't know if you know, I actually have an allergy to sunlight. I've had it since I was 6 years old. It took 4 years for them to just diagnose me because it's very rare.
Yeah.
But I was always able to get free prescriptions for sun cream because I was on benefits. You know, when I was single parent, bringing up kids, I always had some sort of benefit, whether it was working tax or whatever. Obviously, once the kids grew up, I'm no longer entitled to that free prescription. And I'm fine with that because actually it's cheaper to buy the sunscreen
than to pay
than it is to pay for the prescription.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you would. But it's the same with my steroid creams. I very rarely go to the doctors because I don't have major flare-ups anymore. And when I do, I go to Boots and I go, can I have some Humavate, please? Which is a mild steroid cream. And they say to me, you're not using it on your face, are you? And I say, no, I'm not using it on my face. I am. Because that's what I was always that's what my most recent prescription was for my face was Humavate. And the stuff you buy over the counter is actually in milder form or a less concentrated form than what you get on prescription anyway. So I'm going to lie. I'm not going to tell. I'll show you my arms that I've got a rash on. I go, no, it's for there. It's for there. Just as long as you're not using it on your face. I'm like, no, it's for there. And then they said, last time she told me, you can't use it on open wounds. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of it then? You know, what is the point of me getting steroid creams if I can't use it on inflamed,
broken skin?
It's like, you can't use it on. I'm like, I've been using it for 30 odd years. Do not tell me what I can and can't use it on. So she ended up giving it to me, but she wasn't gonna. Like, we know as people that have these conditions or whatever, we know what we're doing. We're not stupid. Don't treat us like we're stupid.
It's like I said on Caroline's stream the other day. No disrespect at all to anybody who has read a textbook for 7 years.
Yeah.
I've been living in this body for 50.
Yeah.
My experience is a hell of a lot more in depth than yours.
Yes.
When it comes to me.
Yeah, and you know the side of it that they'll never see. That's the thing as well, you know, in their 10-minute or if you're lucky 20-minute appointment, you know, because you live with it and you know, you're not sitting in a doctor's, you know, whatever doctor's room, you're actually living it and trying to do everyday tasks, and they won't ever see that side of it. They don't know how these things actually affect you, you know. It's
the thing as well, you can't describe it because these aren't things that you can say, you know, oh, it's hot or it's cold. It's painful. How painful is it? Well, that's
1 to 10.
You know,
on a scale of 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10, but somebody else's 1 to 10 might be different to my 1 to 10. I don't know what you think number 5 is. They always used to say, like, compare it to giving birth. Well, I thought giving birth was far, far easier and less painful than some of my flares.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problems at all. No pain relief, no nothing, because I did that. To me wasn't painful, and I suppose that's because I spent 30 years already with chronic pain. Exactly. That was the least of my worries.
I had one doctor that said, sorry, this is just a quick one. One doctor said to me, can you give me a description of your pain? I said, a description? You know, like, what would you say your pain was closest to? Well, I have never been stabbed before with a 12-inch blade with a serrated edge, and it twisted and getting dragged out again. But I'm presuming it might feel like that. Bit of an exaggeration, that, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
No,
No.
exactly.
To be fair, that sounds like what my period pains used to be like.
Mm.
No.
So you nodded
What I
in
would say-
agreement there, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned. He was definitely having hot flushes earlier.
I know.
You know, menopause.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing to remember is we're speaking here primarily about the UK, yeah? And when, in relation to over-the-counter drugs, the legislations are a lot stricter or laxer in various countries.
Yeah.
If you read some of the, you know, we all open our box of pills now, because we all take the same pills probably all the time. We chuck away the leaflets, don't we?
Yeah.
We only take them when we first open them. In the US, you can't fit them in the box instructions. This will cause this will cause that. So you've got this massive box and a little bit of medicine in it. Because they basically get litigation, whereas we don't have as much litigation. If you go to some of the other countries, like gentlemen mentioned, India and Pakistan, I'm sure they're a lot more freely available and the quantities are available more freely. So you can go and buy, you know, a couple of 100 pills, whereas we can't. And as I said, we don't tell people how they will hurt them either. Whereas in the US, you'll find that they're, generally speaking, they're all detailed. You will get this pain. We say you might get it. 1 out of 10 people get this from taking this pill.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be, you know, be aware of that. We're quite, whoever it is, nice to these nasty people who control what we do and don't get.
I'm going to sort of disagree on that. I always read when I get a new prescription. I always read
New
what
one,
it says,
yeah.
and it does. Yeah, and that's everyone should read, and it's there. It's all there in black and white. What could happen by taking these tablets? I remember getting antidepressants, and I took one, and then read the leaflet, and I never took any more because one of the side effects was feeling suicidal.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, why would I take that tablet? What?
Your doctor should have said that to you if you, the first time they prescribed it. They should have said this is a known side effect. So if you have any suicidal thoughts, stop taking them. You know what I mean? That's terrible that they did.
Well, what they said is it will probably make you feel worse before it makes you feel better.
But you can't do it, especially when you're a single parent as well, and you are the only person looking after those kids, which is the problem I've always had.
And I was already feeling suicidal.
I didn't take any medication until this year or last year. This year.
But I was already feeling suicidal when I got that prescription. So why would I want to take something that's going to make me feel even more suicidal?
I mean, I think I rang up the crisis line last year, and the guy was quite informative, really. He said to me, "What have you been taking?" I go, "So this and this." He said, "Yeah, that's probably the reason." I was going, "All right," and he said, "You need to get onto your doctor, right, to get him to change it." He said, "I said, when ring him up?" He said, "Like now." And he said to me, "What have you got?" You know, he said, "What have you got in front of you?" So I said, "I've got these and these and these." He goes, "We can take 4 of them." He said, "Take 4 of them now." And I was like, "All right." And sure enough, you know, I started to feel a little bit better. But the GP just gave me the bloody pills. I'll be honest, just gave me the pills. But the crisis line, who was more experienced in the pills and their effects, said, "Yeah, okay, we've seen that quite a few times. Here, take these." And I had 4 of them, and I was a bit drowsy and went to sleep for a few hours. You know, probably a known side effect. But I really don't mind taking pills. I really don't. You know.
I don't take them at all, really. I mean, I've got the medication in my mum now, but it's been only this year that I've agreed to take any medication.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, everyone's
I
got their
have
own
to take my medication every day.
Yeah.
I don't like taking my medication every day because I don't. It's the. I shouldn't have to do this.
Yes.
No.
It's like, So, I make it perfectly clear to everybody and anybody that's willing to be anywhere near me on a Friday. I drink. because it takes away the pain.
Fine. Yeah.
I don't drive till at least 2:00 in the afternoon the next day. If I'm planning on having a drink, I make sure that everybody knows that I will not be driving the next day.
Sorry,
Just
I'm going
to
to be back in 2 seconds, but
Oh,
you know,
no.
I need to
You
just.
can't leave. It's your stream.
Yeah, but
Leave
you
it
know,
alone.
you guys are doing fine. If I don't go, I'm going to
Vanishing,
be
Mummy.
up. I have to go. I'll be back.
Go for a wander. Go for a wander, love. Go on.
No, I think you just
So-
got to be.
It's one of
Can't
those
get
with
up
me.
now.
Oh no.
You know, people talk about like in the US about the opioid addiction. I think that's where a lot of it's coming from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that's so we sort of getting the after effects of that. You know, supply of opioids. Obviously, people were giving them out willy-nilly. And yes, it does have to be regulated and supervised, but that doesn't mean you can't have opioids. That's my view on it. As long as you're controlled, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, we've gone now down the route of go on.
Go on.
We've gone down. Sorry.
Go on. I was interrupting you. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no worries. We've gone down the route of you can't have any after 4 weeks or whatever it is. Yeah. And what was I told? Oh, we're a responsible prescriber. Oh, I've gone. First time I've heard about a responsible prescriber. What does that mean? And he goes, well, after 4 weeks you can't have any.
What?
So I thought, oh, yeah. So
What, like
I thought to myself,
Cocodamol?
well, why'd you bloody... no, not so much Cocodamol, but some of the diabenzins or whatever they're called.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, like, what do you mean I can't have any? Why didn't you tell me before? Why didn't you tell me before you put me on them? Yeah. And what I'd had at the time was from my mental health people is an instruction to my GP to continue to provide them to me and to wean me off, you know, accordingly, yeah? Which he ignored and just cut me off, you know, just 4 weeks, you ain't having no more, mate. And I'm like,
Ridiculous.
yeah, but the thing is, it's the silly rules. You know, if you're being responsible, you know, why not? If it helps you, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's there to help you, isn't it? To make it a little bit easier.
I think they should just be monitoring us on them to make sure we're not over using them, but not
selling them
off them. Does that make sense? I mean, if you think somebody is abusing them, I'm sure there are signs that you could see that.
Well, what I had was mental health were quite happy for me to be prescribed the low dosage, but my GP wasn't, you know. So what you've got to do is you've got to be realistic.
See, I can't take most painkillers because they knock me out completely. Like, even if I want to get a good night's sleep, I'll take one of the Cocodamol that I've been given for my pain, which I don't take for my pain. And within 2 minutes, I will sleep through the entire night. They're great. I call them my sleeping pills.
Yeah.
I think it depends what, you know, the dosage of those things are. You know, they're evils really. But you know,
also on your tolerance level, isn't it? Because the more you have and things like that.
I mean, for my sins, I'm using Phenergan or promethazine hydrochloride for sleep, and you know, works all right. Must confess, it does knock me out. You know, I think it's one of these antihistamines that knocks you out.
Oh, Bexaphenidyne?
No, promethazine hydrochloride.
Oh.
It's available over the counter.
Oh, is that one of the old school ones? My doctor told me about that once, and he was saying, like the people actually do use it as a sleep, like a sleep aid rather than a
Yeah, it just chills you out, takes the edge off of things. You know, I'm not saying anyone should take it, but for me, yeah, it's been. I replaced my other the ones they wouldn't prescribe me with that stuff, and it chills me out a bit. You know, go to sleep a bit easier.
You don't really need much to go to sleep.
They open, you know, people who are in pain, who are being denied adequate pain relief, turn to whatever they can, which is why people have, you know, issues with alcohol and things like that. I had a family member who had that, who had a horrible, you know, cancer, was in so much pain, and, you know, used alcohol as pain relief. And it's, you know, then there's no chance of your doctor regulating that or keeping an eye on that, you know, whereas there is with prescription medication. Frustrating.
I mean, I'm just hoping, you know, when you get someone prescribe it, you know, you should be having a medication review. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, maybe
they could at least do the reviews properly, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
For what they're for.
Yeah. I mean, I must confess, my new doctor, she's been lovely to me. I don't ring her up when I don't have to, but I do ring her up, arrange like a scheduled medication review. We just go through what meds I'm on, what I'm experiencing. But she hasn't been a bully to me. She hasn't said, like, well, you've got to come off this. She sort of said, like, how can we do it? How can we work it out together that you can come off of it? And that's sort of working all right at the moment. You know, just cutting down things, trying things a little bit less. But she's not put any pressure on me or said, like, yeah, we ain't giving you no more of that. So it seems, yeah, it's got a softly approach, I think, with a lot of people. You know, just make sure you keep an eye on them. You know, you can always stop it if you don't want them to have it.
Yeah.
My GP.
Yeah.
Sorry, my GP, well, one of the GPs I've seen, and will never see again. Yes, there's a few. Decided to tell me that they were taking me off my T3s because of the expense they are. And I looked and I went,
no, you're not.
And you are a consultant in endocrine by any chance? No. Did you initially prescribe these for me?
No.
Nope. So why do you think you're going to take me off them? Because, you know, I'll just go straight back to the hospital and tell the hospital and they'll prescribe them for me again. And you have to pay. Because what it is
they have a budget.
That medication comes out of their budget.
Yeah.
And they don't like that.
That pays for their house.
So they will try.
It's what it comes
They will try and
though.
give you. They will try and give you the cheaper option. I want a Marks and Spencer's shirt. I don't want a Primark shirt. So I'm getting my Marks and Spencer's shirt. I'm getting my Next shirt. I'm getting my Yves Saint Laurent shirt. I'm not having a Primark.
She's going a bit up even further up the market there, isn't she, Yves Saint Laurent?
Well, the price of my tablets, I tell you.
Right.
Which is why they won't give me
The problem
or
I
other
had was,
people.
you know, like you've got the actual person who writes. Yeah.
Go on.
You know, the person who actually writes the script, yeah? They're responsible legally. The person that writes the script is actually legally responsible. Yeah. So even like, for example, I was looking at a private GP. The private GP won't write a script for you. Yeah. And the reason why is because if he writes a script and your GP writes a script, you could be doubling up on your medication. So what I'm trying to get at is whoever legally writes that script out, even if it's been instructed by the hospital, it's still the person that writes the script. Yeah. So they have to take that responsibility. Well, you know, UK level responsibility of giving you that particular dosage that you're taking. So you've really got to be quite careful about, you know, the hospital said I'll take this. It's actually the GP who's writing the script. If the hospital write you one, you take it down to their pharmacy, that's fine. But if you know, the GP is responsible for making sure you're not taking...
Yeah, but when the consultant has written a letter...
Oh, yes.
And you can override what the consultant says. It's a joke.
Yeah.
I get written in on every single thing. I went down to, I nearly spoke proper Scouse then. I trolleyed my ass off down to the Aussie. Because I wasn't going to get a doctor's appointment and my eye was infected. So I went down to St. Paul's RI Hospital and went, I've got this. She gave me some eye medication. And today I received a letter that's copied my doctor's surgery into it, saying, this is what's wrong, this is what was wrong, this is what we know is wrong, and this is what we've given her.
Yeah.
So I get copies of those letters, all of them. I wasn't even expecting that. But even if I go to accident and emergency, whatever happens in the hospital goes to your doctor.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was very unfortunate. I said I was in receipt of letters like yourself from the hospitals and from mental health telling my GP what to prescribe me. And if you actually read the wordings of them, it says, would you very kindly see your way to blah, 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 round about it. If you feel like it, prescribe the medicine. Yeah? Because I said to him, well, they've told you to prescribe it. He said, I don't have to do anything, they tell me. And they don't. They really don't have to do anything. And that's when I was talking about this thing about responsible prescribers. He'd been instructed by other healthcare professionals, which I was in the physical receipt of a letter to say so. And he says, no, I don't have to do that. And I was like, of course you do. He's going, no, you'll find I don't. And sure enough, they don't.
No.
His name to it. You know, or he or she rather, you're in a real position where you can't get your medicines. And it doesn't matter who does it. If they don't want to prescribe it, you know, you can forget about it. So that's a particular example I had when I had to leave my GP for that reason, amongst others. But he was not listening to other healthcare professionals. So I didn't have any trust in him. The trust relationship had totally broken down, so it was time to go. But honestly, I was literally pulling my hair out because I couldn't. One doctor's telling me to get this, take this. This one's telling me to take this, and someone in the middle wouldn't prescribe it. Meanwhile, I've got nothing.
It's when they contradict each other as well, and you have one doctor saying, yeah, absolutely, there's a link between this and this, or we think this, and then another just totally poo-poos it. That's not in their opinion. And it's so frustrating because you're like, okay, you want to put them in a room together to hash it out because you're trying to act as a go-between, and God, it is frustrating, you know, when you just want some medical care. I don't, you know, you two can
I just find it's an insult as well. You get referred to someone who's a specialist in something, and then they go, oh, no, I'm going to change your treatment plan. And it's like, there's a reason you referred me to a specialist to begin with.
All this, but I find even the specialists don't agree with each other. Like when I was seen by rheumatology, I saw a different rheumatologist each time I went to the same hospital, and I got a new diagnosis every time I went. I was getting a new diagnosis every 6 months because none of them could agree. And I know that's, you know, again, it's not their fault necessarily because they are just trying to work out. But something that one said, the very first rheumatologist I said it's absolutely not fibromyalgia, and yet I've ended up with a fibromyalgia diagnosis, you know.
They can't figure out what it is.
They don't know, and I think they all have their own interpretations, and it can be incredibly frustrating.
Well, I think that the way I mentioned fibromyalgia to my rheumatologist, and I think basically they want to eliminate everything else first.
Yeah, that is what they tend to do.
Yeah.
I mean, at 25, I want to say, I was having bone scans to check I didn't have arthritis at 25. Yeah. But considering that I'd had pain since my teens, you'd kind of think they'd have done all the tests for that, but I had no inflammation markers and stuff, which would have indicated arthritis. But after having countless amounts of needles in me to have blood tests done and so on, I had MRIs, CTs, bone scans, and it's just like, okay, fine, thank you for the diagnosis. But if we go back to when I first started having the problem, it's taken me 11 years to get to that point. And it's exhausting if you're having to try and find out what's wrong with you for that length of time. And then the amount of money that's going to have cost as well to get that diagnosis.
But at least
to some extent, if
they have to know that they're giving you the right treatment. You know what I mean? Because
the amount of times I was given vitamin D and calcium, they kept going, "Oh yes, you're back at normal levels," and I look at my records and I go, "They haven't changed."
Yeah,
so
I noticed
I'm a
over
bit
time
confused.
they change the acceptable level of things, because my level will be, it will say, you know, the range, it shows the value range that you should be within, and sometimes I'm abnormal and sometimes normal, and it's not because my levels have changed, it's because their accepted values have changed. I'm like, oh, so is that good? Is that bad?
The accepted values of vitamin D during the summer months is different to the accepted values.
Oh no, it's
in
not.
the
It's
winter
not
months.
vitamin D. It's like my
sorry.
Some other blood was. Yes, sorry. I'm just thinking of in general all my test results.
My son, who never leaves his bedroom, so he does not get any sunlight at all because his curtains are closed, everything's closed. He doesn't leave his room, and he had blood tests recently. And so we got them back and the doctor said, yeah, everything seems okay. And I said, well, what about his vitamin D? Oh, well, we don't really check that because most people
are deficient,
I said,
insufficient.
Okay, well, that doesn't really help us then, does it? What else don't you check?
Yeah, they don't even really prescribe for it anymore. My rheumatologist asked my GP to prescribe me vitamin D because I was so deficient. And they did for one prescription, and then they said, "Oh no, you'll need to, you know, buy it yourself from now on."
Yeah, so they give you the 30 mils, don't they?
I can't take it. Whatever they put in with the supplements, it really affects me badly.
The best one was vitamin D.
4,000 international units.
Yeah. I get stiff calves when I have vitamin D. All my calves stiffen up. But you know those boosters they give you, like the big 6-week booster. God, my calves started to stiffen up, you know, and I was like, it was just my calves. I just felt all like cramps in them. But the old, what makes me laugh is you speak to the rheumatologist. In my particular case, he was actually quite a friendly guy. And he said to me, tell me about yourself. And he said, no. And I said, well, I've lost 3 stone in weight. And he's gone, 3 stone in weight? I was going, yeah. He said, didn't your doctor say anything to you? I said, no. He said, He said, I think you might have something else wrong with you. So, of course, you know, he's thinking of, you know, other more malignant things. And I was like, he said, they should have checked you for your weight, mate. I was like, but they didn't. He said, you've lost 3.5 stone. You know, he said, I'm a rheumatologist and I'm telling you now, I don't want to be looking at your blood, so I want to be looking that you've lost that amount of weight. But fortunate enough, you know, it was just I'll tell you, mine was just, I was describing symptoms to him, the rheumatologist, you know, movement, feelings and all that sort of malarkey. And he said, you ain't had a stroke, have you? And I said, I don't know, do I? He's going, he said, they haven't given an electrocardiograph. I said, no. He said, I'll put you in for one of them. You know, I couldn't believe it. I said to him, where can I do the electrocardiograph? He said, well, they'd do it down at Beckenham Beacon. He said, pop down. He said, and we'll put you on there and we'll give you your bloods and we'll do it all in one go. I said, is that, mate? He says, yeah. I said, well, the doctor never sent me.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's not. It really is. And it's only, you know, a walk-in place. They put me up. There you go. Yeah, you're all right from that. You ain't had one of them. But the other guy just couldn't be bothered to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got really annoyed in the pandemic, in the middle of it, and people probably else here had the same things. I was speaking on the telephone to the guy here, and he's saying to me, well, you can't be that ill. You can speak to me on the phone.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. So I'm getting a little bit edgy at that point, as you can imagine.
Really?
Yeah, just a little bit. I'm quite nice normally. And he's gone, oh, you're a little bit edgy on that, aren't you? I sort of like, yeah, mate, I am, because you ain't seen me for 5 months. He said, well, I don't need to see you to diagnose you.
Sometimes you do.
Right. And I
Do you want
said
to throw that one past him again?
yeah. And I said to him, it's 5 months, mate. You haven't seen me for 5 months. I've not physically been in your surgery or seen me for 5 months. I've lost 3.5 stone in weight, yeah? And you're telling me you can diagnose me over the phone. And that is at that point when I put the phone down on him and said, you know, I'm just talking to an absolute idiot, you know, hiding behind, the pandemic and stuff, yeah? And the other doctor said, yeah, go on, go down to the clinic and get checked out. You know?
It's ridiculous though. Like sometimes they don't even bother reading your notes. Back to the vitamin D. The first time they decided to prescribe me some. Not suitable for nut allergy sufferers.
No.
I have anaphylaxis with that. And you just think, is this a joke? Like I got home and luckily I looked at the leaflet. Let's just say I'm not the best at doing that. And I'm sure most people aren't, and they're quite happy to say that. But that day I just literally just thought, what on earth made me think to look? Because that would have killed me. Or could have. And when I went back up about it, they went, oh yeah, sorry about that. What do you mean sorry?
Terribly sorry. We almost killed you.
I've watched on my system when they prescribe me things, they get a big box that flashes up when it flags up when there's an allergy that I'm noted on my file as having. So they know when they're prescribing something they shouldn't be.
Ridiculous.
It makes it very
I
difficult to trust them.
I hope people from around the world have realised that the UK is not all it's meant to be with its national health system.
No, there's a lot of things we'd love to change.
It's one of those things that you sort of, I think.
Yeah, but value for money, I don't know anymore because it is so underfunded now, but value for money, we were always top of, you know, of all the charts, of all the countries, because for the amount we paid in, we got the best out of it. But I mean, I'm thinking probably about 3-4 years ago and things have only got worse. But I mean, I do think we're lucky. In some places you just we wouldn't be seen at all, you know what I mean? Or
I've had cataract surgery, and each one of my cataracts, the lens that they put in to replace, each one cost £24,000.
Yeah.
That's just the little plastic thing that they stuck in my eye.
Yeah.
That's not taken into consideration the consultant who did the job.
Yep.
The surgeon, the young lad nurse that had to hold my hand, the anaesthetist, the nurse that had to bring me round,
the
electricity, the aftercare. I'd be living in my car if I was in America by now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sorry, value for money is still there for the NHS. It's just that some people fail at it. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go, Caroline. I'm really tired. But
okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Amy, you were saying about, you know, you had your MRIs, all the testing, things like that. And I mean, I just think, you know, I am so frustrated and I get so frustrated by doctors telling me, you know, by the waiting lists, and it's like, it will be a few months, it will be a year. And I'm thinking, you don't understand is that it's not just, you know, to see this next one. It's been a line of, you've just got to do that. And actually it's decades of my life now, not a few months, you know what I mean? But regardless of that, I do have access to things that other people just wouldn't. And it's not perfect. And I do think there's way too much bureaucracy and, you know,
too much politics in it.
Thinking. Exactly. But I still think we are so, I don't want to say lucky, because I think everyone should be entitled to a high level of care, absolutely everyone, but I am very grateful that we have this, especially, you know, those of us who aren't earning or don't earn enough. You know what I mean? I think we get a level of care that we would never have, like you said, like in America or somewhere like that. Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah, I can't access any care at the moment. I went to my GP yesterday and I got refused entry and my appointment was cancelled. So I don't think at the moment that I can really say anything positive in that sense. I've been very, very diplomatic and said, you know, yes, I'm aware doctors and nurses are totally overworked at the moment. There's long waiting lists, and I can respect that, and I understand that they've worked really hard recently. There were waiting lists before COVID. There were long lists then. And it is a case of systems have not been fixed when they should have been by our government, not the doctors or nurses. They're just doing what they're told they have to do. Yeah. But to be at a point where I go for care and point out that it could be potentially life-saving treatment that I've come for, and I'm still refused the care, I think that is a real letdown on our NHS. People like that are really letting us down.
What can I ask? Why was it to do with the mask?
Yeah, I'm exempt anyway.
Yeah,
but they refused. Even though I had my lanyard, even though I tried the visor, they were trying to insist on more. And they saw I wasn't okay. So, like, it's not like I'm making up.
No, it's like you're trying everything you can. And also, like, if you're exempt, your GPs are the people that should have that. You know what I mean? That information and all that. That's
receptionists shouldn't. But when it's, like, it's everywhere, absolutely everywhere else. My mum, in particular, she goes up to hospitals in London quite regularly. She's never had an issue with the fact that she's exempt. At first, I was told I have to have a lanyard that says NHS on. I already had that when I was refused at that point previously. In July, they said, oh, we have to do a risk assessment. So I asked for a copy of that, and I'm still waiting. I asked for it in writing that they're refusing me. They said, no, we won't give it to you in writing. We'll put a note on your file, to which I went, well, that's no good because I can't access it. So I'm asking you,
freedom of information.
I'm asking you because under data protection, I'm entitled to any data you hold on me.
Yeah.
Yes, and they have to provide it within 28 days.
Yeah, they wouldn't give it to me. But considering that I'd done 2 emails to our local CCG who had told me that they'd been in touch. One of them I received a reply to on the same day after my supposed appointment was meant to be, going, yes, we've spoken to you. And we've spoken to the GP and they've said they won't refuse anyone on this. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. You don't have to wear a visor. It's if you are able to. But they're not refusing to see anyone. So I came home to that and they got a very short shrift email back going, well, I just got refused. So, you know, what the point is it? Because, yeah, there's no care there. There's no care. You know, it's hard enough to get any care anywhere at the moment. I mean, earlier in this month, I was told there's no way, they're not even going to refer for mental health support because the list's so long, they're not accepting any more on it.
Yeah. Do not talk about mental health to me. I've had, right, I don't know if anybody knows what's been going on. I know Amy's got some idea of my son. We have been fighting this since he turned 18 with adult mental health. Now, last Christmas, we finally, after, I don't know how many months, maybe a year on the waiting list, we finally got to fill out all these forms, and it had to be done over the phone because it was during the pandemic. We filled them all out. We waited, and then I started trying to get back to them in February. What's happening? Because we were told we'd be hearing in 2 weeks. What we want is a mental health plan, care plan that needs to be put in place. He needs carers coming in to look after him with his needs. And this is what we're trying to get put in place. Anyway, so then I find out months later that the person that we did the forms with has left, and none of the forms we filled out, no information whatsoever, there isn't any. Wow. And I said, well, we've already waited like over a year for this.
Yeah.
So anyway, eventually, couple of months back, they got in touch with us and we filled out all the forms again. And we've had a phone call today to say that the person that we've just filled out these forms with has left, and now we've got to go back and wait for somebody else to take over the case.
What?
So we are right back to where we were 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
You should be like bumped up of that list though, because you've already done all of that process.
I said to him, I don't want to be doing these forms again, because do you know how much trauma it is to keep going through these forms?
Yeah.
And he said, I can't guarantee you won't have to do them again.
Have you got a copy of the forms?
I don't, because they fill them out.
Right.
They're asking questions.
Get a copy of the forms.
Yeah.
Ask them to send you duplicates of the forms that have been filled out. Data protection, GDPR, you're entitled to it, freedom of information.
I said this to them, and they said, well,
are you your
son's
son's
them out has done notes, then they'll be able to. But if they haven't provided notes, like they didn't last time, then they've got no record of it again.
No, they'll have a record of the form that's been filled in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get a copy of the form that's been filled in. Are you your son's
advocate?
Yeah,
advocate?
I am.
What's the other word for it?
Guardian, or whatever they call them these days. Legal guardian.
Legal guardian, financial guardian.
I'm not technically. I mean, I am, but it's not been all signed and sealed with lawyers or anything.
Right,
it's
get
just
it done.
he's agreed it, and
No, get it done. Get it done so that you are his welfare advocate. There's a finance part. I can't think of the word. I'm sorry.
Power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Power of attorney, yeah.
There's a legal power of attorney and there's a welfare power of attorney.
Ah, okay.
You need to get both of those put in place.
A lot of places will happily let you do that as long as there's a signed letter. Like, so my GP has stuff on there for if I'm unable, my mum can speak on my behalf and so on.
Yeah. Well,
so
Deacon's
quite informal, but they'll be happy with that. So
yeah, you get a letter off your GP saying that your son's not able to do that at certain points, and you can be his advocate at that point.
Well, I remember when I spoke to Bromley West, for Oxley's.
Yeah.
So Bromley West is basically down at Beacon and Beacon, and I think in Penge, And I said to them, "How are you talking to each other?" And they said, "We're sending emails." I said, "But you're in the same office." And they said, "Yeah, because of the pandemic, we can't go over and speak to each other." Right. So I was like, "Oh, right. So literally, they were emailing each other from desk to desk. So if you can imagine what that causes when people are trying to do things, it is an absolute, I don't know, farce. And I couldn't believe it. They were just emailing from desk A to desk B, rather than saying, "Oi, mate, oi, have you done this case yet?" It really has broken down to, its basic form. I rang them up about 4 or 5 times one afternoon. Just waste of time, really. Just waste of time. I know it sounds really negative, but
no, I've had the same issues throughout the pandemic. Even like when I was referred back to them to have my meds addressed, they wrote to my GP and went, "Oh, she's happy with everything she's taking," and and I'm like, "Wait, but that's not actually what I said. That's not anywhere near what I said."
With the technology we have in this day and age, there shouldn't be any of this, because the minute a consultant types up a letter, it should be right there on your system, and then anyone can access that.
The systems don't all interwork together though, because it's like even when things on my things that have come from different hospitals and so on, they're like, "Oh, they weren't with all your other letters or whatever," and I'm thinking, okay, but you guys have admin, so if it's in the wrong place here, you would think it would flag that something new has come through, they might move it. But it should flag that it's new anyway.
What I can definitively say, having worked for the NHS, in sort of an IT sort of role, there is only one system that everybody in the NHS has access to, and that is email. Okay.
Exactly.
There isn't the global or countrywide system that we
But
imagine.
there should be.
Yeah.
There should be.
Yes, might think so. However, there isn't. Especially when you go down to GPs. GPs, remember, as I go back to it, they're private businesses, yeah? If they can get an IT system that's cheaper, they'll get that IT system. They go out, they fund it, they get the firm in to deliver it. That means it may have no consistency or with the firm next door or the GPs at 50 yards down the road. The only system, I mean, it was a few years ago since I worked there, but the only system they had was email. And I'll tell you how a nightmare that is, yeah? And people often, I mean, I will sing their praises a little bit, right? There's 1.25 million people work for that NHS, yeah? 1.25 million people. And I'll tell you what, that's a lot of email addresses, right? So people say to me, well, what does that mean? I said, well, there's a lot of Smiths in it, right? So if you send an email to someone in the NHS, you're meant to ring them up first, right? To find out they're the right name before you send the confidential data to them. Yeah, there's hundreds of Smiths. So people think, they can just be able to send it like that. No, they've got to ring up and say, are you working at that hospital before I can send you the information electronically? And they go, yes, I am. And then they send the email. So even though all these electronic systems are there, the practicalities of having so many staff and so many, and what we're talking, 330 NHS trusts, 330 different organisations. Those 330 trusts might have 3 or 4 hospitals each, with 3 or 4 computer systems maybe per trust. I can probably guarantee you the system that they use at the Prue isn't fully integrated with the system they use at King's, even though they're the same trust now. Yeah, so I think we expect a little bit too much from them. And the GPs, what we're talking, 13,000 plus GP surgeries in the UK. They've all got their own systems. Yeah, it'd be lovely if they could, but the only one they've got access to when I worked there was email. And I said, that's got the problems. You can't just send out a blind email to someone due to data confidentiality.
They are actually working on a countrywide system.
Yeah.
I know that they can look up now via our NHS numbers, because they've done that for me when I had to go to A&E out of my area.
And that's because the police need. Yeah. It's not to do with the NHS. It's not to do with health. It's because the police need to know. Because
they have their own system.
They have their own system, which is literally countrywide, and it's also attached to Europe at the moment. I don't know if it's attached to anywhere else, but it is attached to Europe. And they catch who they need to catch in different areas of the country really quickly. They can talk to different constabularies, but they also need to be able to speak to hospitals in case certain...
someone's been in,
there could be a reason for a behaviour. Like sometimes people with diabetes, they can have obscene, or what we would think is obscene behaviour due to not having enough sugar or having too much sugar. So if the police are aware of that.
But also, if somebody has a gunshot wound,
it's recorded.
It's recorded. If somebody,
my mum reckons they've got their own police station in King's College Hospital now.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So when you go in there, there's a whole area of this, loads of police in there. I mean, it makes me laugh because I don't know if anyone has ever visited it, but to me it's always a battleground when you go to King's, and it scares me at the best of times. Not that I'm particularly scared by much, but it does. It's a battleground. Many years back, I was sort of living in and out of the hospital at King's College. And I used to use the casualty quite a lot to pick up my taxi, because it was ready to supply a taxi outside. And I'll tell you what, the number of fights and violence in that place is unbelievable. So it always used to worry me going to Kings. It still does. But it's like a war zone in there.
I think with most hospitals as well, I'll avoid them at certain points because of the likelihood of it being like that. It's not the doctor's fault and it's not the staff's fault, but they do tend to be the ones on the receiving end.
Yeah, I just, you go there and you've just got to be a bit aware, if you know what I mean.
I'm totally lost. I must have zoned because I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're talking about, when you go to your hospitals, for example, King's College, it's a bit of a battle zone in A&E. So it's quite a scary place to go.
Oh, right, yeah.
Other than your condition.
I think they're all like that though, aren't they? I mean, depending on what time or whatever you go. Like
Friday night's not a good time.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty horrendous things in all of them, I think.
Well, somewhere between 10:30 at night and 12:30 at night, morning, apparently that's called the dead zone.
Yeah.
Not because people die, it's because the nurses have got nothing to do because the pubs are still open.
Just before kicking out, so they're all still in there.
It's just before the kicking out or just after the kicking out. So that time between there it is quiet. So if you've got a broken leg, hang on till 10:30.
Yeah.
Then you get seen straight away.
Sorry, Caroline. My mother actually said there's a police station there at King's, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like they've got their own police station in the hospital. So if that says anything.
Wow. I very rarely go to A&E.
Yeah, I went to quite a few.
I went to the Peru to the extent that I was on first name basis with the nurses at one point. So, and it was when they were still renovating the from the old A&E, which was Bloods. I think it's changed again since. But that was sort of where you'd go in at that point, and I'd go in and they'd be sat at this little desk, and then they'd be like, "Oh, hello, what are you in for this time?" Well, this time a horse did this.
No, the only time really I've gone there is for. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Abscess of my tooth because I couldn't go to a dentist, so my face was literally out here, and broken ankle. That's it. I just don't go because if I'm in too much pain or too much suffering, the last place I want to do is anywhere but bed. So I might be going in an ambulance as if I'm dead, really, I think, basically.
Well, that's how we should all sort of feel. We should all want to be staying away from them.
Yeah. The volunteer was really nice. She came up to me and she said, "Can I book in your form for you?" And I said, "Yes, you can." And she did it all for me. And "How are you today?" And then just went downhill after that, but the volunteer was nice. You have to forgive my humour. She was nice, the volunteer. Didn't get me a cup of coffee or anything nice like that, but
It's like I said earlier. Why do they ask, "How are you today?"
Yeah.
Why do we say fine?
I'm here for fun.
Pretty lame question, isn't it?
I'm in a hospital. It's 2:00 in the afternoon or 2:00 in the morning. Take your pick. I've been sat here for 4 hours and you're now asking me how I am? Have a look at my face and tell me how I am. No, really look, because I've got one of those faces that tells you.
Yeah.
Actually, I was at Queen Mary's when I had one of my abscesses, and I'd gone there and they did say there was a wait. Is there any other medical difficulties you have? And I said, well, I do have fibromyalgia, so it would be difficult to sort of sit for any length of time, but that's not a problem. And I waited 5 hours stuck in this chair, and when I got up, obviously I had no balance and I was as stiff as anything, and the little nurse or whatever, doctor, I don't know who it was, went charging off, and I'm like, hang on a minute, I can't get there that quickly. She said, oh, no, take your time. I said, I'm going to fall because there's nothing. You've had my stick. Anyway, there was nothing to hold on to. And I just went crashing down on the floor because she'd run off. And then there's like, oh, is everything all right? I said, well, no, but I warned you of this. You made me sit in a chair for 5 hours and then you run off. I told you to slow down. And anyway, she actually gave me some medication for my balance, which was great. But
yeah, and you only had to sit 5 hours and fall over to get it, you know?
To get it, yeah. But she was the first person who'd actually done anything about it. I've only been talking about it for I don't know how long, but.
And that wasn't someone you'd seen like regarding that, you know what I mean? That's the thing. It's just luck. Sometimes you'll find a medical person who knows something or willing to do something done before. Yeah.
House, yeah, I love that show.
We all need a house.
We do. We need a house.
Oh no, because when I first got diagnosed, my GP told me it was lupus, and someone I know was like, "It's never lupus because that's what a house always says." And it turned out it wasn't lupus like that. Someone was like, "God damn it, I needed house there." Yeah, I need house to actually work out what's wrong with me.
That is one thing they've never tested me for that I'm aware of. And when I lived in Canada, I did actually get bitten by something which could well have been a tick out there, because my arm came up like this, and I had
so it could be Lyme disease.
It could be Lyme disease.
Yeah,
that's a lot prevalent here.
Yeah,
very prevalent.
I'm worried about that because I was in Thailand working. I was literally pulling ticks off dogs. That's what I did every single day. And I'm like, Christ, like, is that something? But I don't even know if that's prevalent over there, is it? Because it is like North America was where it kind of started. Yeah. It was named after a place called Lyme, wasn't it? So I don't know.
My dog did get ticks. I had to pull them out.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
I think they can't really detect it, I think, and there's not really much they can do unless you get treated pretty much immediately, isn't there? I'm a bit, I don't know, I get a bit confused.
Can anyone tell me what the test called that they use for muscle strength with electric shock? Oh, isn't that, I don't know what it's called.
CCS? What do I have? DCS test? Can't remember.
I don't know. I've had it done on my hands. I can't
I've never heard of that.
Electroconvulsive.
That's therapy, isn't it?
No, but they do it for me. It's like for your CT.
Yeah.
When they test you for carpal tunnel, they put the thing on you and do all your fingers. NCS, nerve conductivity test.
Yeah. No, it's to see, because I don't have a feeling in my hand sometimes and whatever. Yeah, it's to see how the nerves respond.
Yeah, I had those done.
Guess what? It was clear. Whatever they were looking for, it wasn't.
Yeah,
sorry for laughing.
The lady who did mine, like, because it's in the middle of the pandemic, I'm sort of putting my arm out, and she's going, "Oh, I've got to touch him," and they put the old things on. You know, I think she said, "Did that hurt?" I goes, "No, that hurts. Yeah, you're all right." And I was like, "Thanks, I'm off now." I couldn't wait to get out of the hospital, I tell you. Bloody things.
I think I might have to call it a night. Because
yep.
2.5 hours and I can't concentrate any longer, and I'm going to have to sleep because tomorrow night I'm doing karaoke.
Singing.
Oh, have fun.
You silly woman.
I love it, TJ. You know I love it. That's about the only time I'll cooperate with anything. I can't sing to save my life. I'm tone deaf, but I love singing. And it's hilarious because it's all out of sync. We're all singing at different times because, you know, we all have different Wi-Fi
monitors and different computers and different phones. And Hen's mouse goes all over the pig in place. It's hilarious.
It will be fun.
It's all a Christmas theme.
Oh, is it? But we're not singing carols, though, are we?
No.
Christmas song.
Christmassy.
It's going to be good. It's going to be fun.
Mhm.
But I'm going to need
Santa baby, stick a sable under the tree for me.
I'm thinking more like last Christmas I gave you my
Oh, bit of George. Bit of George.
The next day.
Oh, I love
You
it.
can sing. You can sing.
No,
That's
that's not
Amy.
me. It was me saying I couldn't sing. It's not me. That's Amy.
We lost Chris.
Yeah, I can't
He said,
sing.
I'm gone.
Don't tell Christine.
Don't tell who?
It's our secret. Christine.
I'm lost.
A
Why am
group.
I always lost?
Friday group. Thursday.
Thursday
No?
group.
Oh, what? When we
Christine.
had the party thing and she wanted
Mhm.
you to sing with it?
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Just don't
Well,
let her
why
know
don't we
that I
do
can.
karaoke night? Oh, now everyone stops singing.
Yep.
I never started.
Fine.
Not till I'm on mute.
See, that's what I like about Hen's channel. This one, we talk a lot, but there's a lot of fun on Hen's channel.
Is she gone?
I think her
She's
connection
gone.
went.
She's done with us.
She's done. That's it.
Well,
She's
it
told
was
us.
really nice talking to everyone anyway. I am knackered. I need to.
Yeah, I
go
think
and
it's
nap.
time for me
Yeah.
So it's lovely to meet everybody again and new
Ooh.
ones. So I'm going to go and
Oh,
hopefully she'll come back and turn the stream off. Oh, she is. There we go.
I
Say no goodbye.
got
Say
to stop using my keyboard while I'm talking, because I did this last week as well.
Just too full of passion.
Right.
Hopefully you'll get it right
Well,
next week.
thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
And I'll see you tomorrow.
I will see you tomorrow, and everyone else, thank you so much for watching and being here with me, and I will see you all next week, and I will probably see you too tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone. Bye.